Good time. Hello, everyone. I don't see the recording message, but I assume it
It's
started.
recording.
Are
Yes, it
we?
is.
Okay. I'm Peter Weiler. I'm going to be your host today at the March 19th, 2024 DVMUG Zoom meeting, which will proceed for a couple hours, starting as usual with news of the week, Apple news, that is. I have one miscellany item that I think will be of interest. And then there's a slew of videos to watch, but don't worry too much about it because half of them are quite short and some of them not even a minute long. So we should get through them without too much trouble. Um, let us get started with the news. As usual, you will find this page, the news for this meeting, and the videos for this meeting in the BBS of DVMUG. And you will be able to download them. You can click on the links and actually see the full articles. So give that a shot. Our first piece of news, Oracle advises users delay Sonoma 14.4 update because of an issue with Java. Now, I know that Steve Jobs years ago uh, gave a nice talk about why Java was not a very good app to have on the Mac and not necessary, and there were better ways to do what Java can do. So probably most of you don't have Java, and this isn't of use to you, but I received a message from Ken Marks. I don't know if Ken's online now with us. I saw it just this morning that Sonoma 14.4 also has a bug with the iCloud drive, in that the drive will destroy saved versions that are saved in iCloud Drive, if you don't have it set properly. I think it has to do with optimizing storage. Don't optimize storage if you're depending on having your saved versions and running 14.4 right now. Any comments? Okay, let's move on. Apple reportedly has developed a chip equivalent to, and the M2 Ultra was their most powerful chip at this point that's in use. It's equivalent to 4 of them. And they developed this for the Apple Car project. They just about had this chip ready to run, be put into production with the cars. But now the car project is no longer happening. To get a sense of just how powerful this chip would be, the M2 Ultra has 134 billion transistors, or the equivalent of that, I should say. If you quadruple that, we're talking about 500 billion or so. So things are just massively powerful. Why is it necessary to put all of this into a single chip? And Mark Gurman of Bloomberg says that Apple is interested in using this chip for future projects. At any rate, anyone have any more information about this item?
FYI, I put the news and video PDFs in the chat, so you don't have to go to the BBS and get them.
Well, thank you, John. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Item 3, Apple acquires a Canadian app. It's called Darwin AI. This is produced by a very small Canadian company. They're like 12 employees. And probably when you get into the article, you hear about co-founder of Darwin AI, Alexander Wong, a researcher from the University of Waterloo, who's published over 600 journal and conference papers, actually refereed journal and conference papers, as well as patents. And he's really into computational imaging, artificial intelligence, computer vision, and multimedia systems. Darwin AI is evidently, they have found a way to be more efficient in general use, and Apple is trying to push their AI so it doesn't depend upon making calls to the iCloud and communicating that way, but actually has enough processing power on board to handle the AI. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Are there any comments on this article?
The news today that we talked about on Mac Weekly on the opening story was Apple is rumored to be in talks with Google to license their AI. And they've been developing that for 10 years. So I don't know if that's true. They talked about it for quite a while.
Well, there's a lot going on in the field.
So I have
oh,
a question. Does that because of that chip that they have out there, does that actually exclude the newest, largest, the biggest, the fastest chips that are being made for AI specifically, and bypassing the cloud, I guess? Oh, that would be a big thing for Apple.
yeah, that was actually in the previous article. But that I don't have an answer to that question, Bruce. Anybody else?
Well, I was just wondering because there are special certain companies that just make chips for AI exclusively. So I guess this is fast enough to be equal to what that is and
Yeah, well,
everybody else, I guess.
the article described it as that Darwin AI, that team they've created AI in a very efficient processing system. And I think Apple's searching for the efficiency to try to get, as they say, the models as small as possible. And so stay tuned. I'm sure we'll learn more about this soon. Okay. The last news item that I have is an interesting one in that it relates to using the Apple Vision Pro in a surgical operation. And it was done in the UK. It was a spinal fusion operation. And the doctors weren't wearing the Apple Vision Pro. It was the surgical assistant nurse, whose name was Suvi Verho. And she had used the HoloLens 2 in a previous similar operation. She found that the Apple Vision Pro really was a game changer, evidently working better than the HoloLens 2, which is a Microsoft product. So what is of interest also is that the surgeon in this operation said that it doesn't matter if you're an experienced surgical assistants or scrub nurse just put the headset on, and he says that this headset will give these people 10 years worth of experience to draw on. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like there really is a place for these kinds of visioning units. Any comments? Okay.
Doesn't sound good to me. Mm.
Jan,
It
was
doesn't
that,
to me
was that-
either. Sounds like it could put surgical nurses out of work.
Hmm.
See.
Well, it all remains to be seen, but I doubt that surgical nurses are going to be put out of work. They might be able to do their work more effectively. Okay, miscellany. Again, I've borrowed this category from Lee Wagner. Thank you very much. But what follows doesn't really fit for news. It was an experience that happened to me last Friday. My Mac was targeted by scammers, and the scam attack occurred while I was surfing the internet. And I thought it might be of interest to you people out there, just to see kind of what it looked like. So I created a simulation. Not going to be dealing with scamming software or anything like that. But so I'm going to show where I started from. Yeah, this is a simulation. So basically, my desktop looked pretty much like this. It's from a Mac Mini running Sonoma 14.4. And I was reading in CNN online, CNN.com. And of course, they have all these buttons that you can push for various articles. And I pushed one of them, and this is what I saw. So if you see something like this, don't panic. What you might notice, and I think you can see my cursor now moving around. I no longer have access to the Mac menu up here, where I could go to quit or something like that. That doesn't scare me, but I think for some users, that might really concern them. What are we seeing? Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so they're saying contact us immediately so we can guide you and remove, I guess, malware that's supposed to be there. They want me to call Apple support at, and there's the number. You see that number a lot on the screen. It isn't an Apple support number. I actually looked it up, and it isn't even close. But this big blue box is talking about that Apple has blocked access to my PC for security reasons, and that the following data may have been compromised: emails, passwords, bank passwords, Facebook logins, photos, and so forth. Again, call this number. Also, there are buttons I can push like OK and cancel, and I'm not going to do that. This was the piece that was at the top of the, or on top of all the other layers. And if you look at it carefully, you see that they misspelled addressee, or if that's even a word, the addressee. At any rate, the IP address, it does give the date and time that this occurred. The location, Walnut Creek. I live in Clayton, but maybe that's supposedly my ISP. I do have Comcast as my ISP, so they lucked out on that. But again, I'm not going to cancel it. I'm not going to click on OK. I clicked off any of the buttons, and this came up. So you can see to the right, it's saying, and this, I'm not sure if this is from Apple or this is from the scammers. I have a hunch it's from the scammers, but it's a weird kind of address.
It's
And
windows.net. That's a little suspicious right there.
yeah, stay on the page, leave the page. I'm not going to push any buttons. So going back to what the screen looked like, and it's bouncing around, here's what it looked like. What I did was just push the escape button at the top left of my keyboard, and that popped me right out of it. And not all of these kinds of pop-up screen takeovers are that easy to get out of, but this one was. And so just some thoughts, if any of you aren't familiar with how to be safe when these pop-ups happen, is don't click on anything, don't make any phone calls. I scam weasels with scripts are eager to gain access to your computer, empty your bank accounts, and steal your ID and personal information if you let them. You can call Apple support or your ISP, but just be sure you have the right number. Do not use the number that they're giving you on the screen. And be sure to cut off contact. It was easy for me with escape, and then I could close and quit my browser. I restarted my Mac. And if last resort you aren't able to get out of where they've got you trapped, just push the power button on your computer, on your Mac, hold it in for a few seconds, and it'll shut down.
The fact that they referred to it constantly as a PC should have been
Yeah.
a clue.
Right.
Indeed.
And
Yes.
I wonder why don't they get better editors or proofreaders? By now, they shouldn't have any mistakes that are so glaring.
That's
Yes.
very common to scams.
It is. And I
Yeah.
think many of them probably are done by people who don't speak English at all. John?
So I got a call from a client yesterday that this exact thing came up. She's in Hawaii using Firefox, and she quit Firefox, but when you started and went back to the same thing, that's common. And you think, so what you do is to fix this is you quit your browser, you hold the shift key down and continue to hold it down, start the browser. That will stop the page from reoccurring. If you see your normal page, then quit it again and just start normally, and you should be okay. The key is you got to hold the shift key, or sometimes you restart the browser and this goes back to the same lock screen.
Yep.
She did, by the way, call the phone number, and they started asking her about her bank information.
Can you clear your history?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Can you clear your history?
You can find out what page you're on by going in your history and
I
looking
clear
at the
the whole
last.
history. Yeah, clear the.
That doesn't help, but you can see the page you're on that happened. But I asked her how she got into this, and she was reading the Apple News app, and she was reading a news story in the News app, and then clicked on a link in the news story, which sent her out to Firefox, out of the News app, and that's where it happened. So it was a bad link it probably might have been CNN, just like you were. They got hacked.
I just want to add to that. You know, what John said is exactly what you need to do. The reason that you can't at that possible time clear history is if you restart your browser, it will come right back. And
Sometimes.
you won't have a way to delete any history whatsoever. So you hold that shift key down. That'll prevent it from loading.
Yeah, whatever you do, the main important thing is don't ever call any phone number that pops up on your screen ever. Ever.
Yeah. Or even the ones that just show up in a normal way when you look at a website.
Well,
Be careful.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah. Anyway, let's
Good
move
one.
on to some videos, okay? Once again, this is the video page, and these URLs will take you right to them on YouTube. So this first is about the watch, new OS 10.4, and it's by a fellow, I don't think we've actually done any of his videos before, Aaron Zolo. Let's have a look.
Hi, everyone. Aaron here for Zolotech, and today Apple released watchOS 10.4 to the public. watchOS 10.4 is available for all watchOS 10 supported devices and is out around the world at the same time. Now, this particular update came in at a fairly small 248 megabytes on my Apple Watch Ultra 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go down to settings, then we'll go down to general, then about, and you'll see the version is 21T216. And in this update, we do have some new updates and features. The first thing is, once you install this update, you may see a new hello screen. I personally didn't see this, but some people are actually seeing this. We have some new watch faces, and we can see those on our iPhone a little bit easier. So if we go into our iPhone and we go to our watch, give it a second to load, go to our face gallery. Under our face gallery, give it a second to load here as it takes a moment. And under color, we have some new ones. We have new ones to go along with the all new cases and Apple Watch bands that Apple released the other day. So if we go in here, you can see all of the spring 2024 colors at the top, and you'll see all of the different options here. So there's 6 different ones, and you can choose between any of those. So you've got ocean blue, you have pink, raspberry, soft mint, sunshine, and light blue. So you could add any one of those to the watch. And also some people have been seeing some new Snoopy watch faces as well. So if we go to our watch here, you'll see the new light blue one. And if we go over, see if I have Snoopy set. Now you may get this little pop-up where it asks you to use the location, and there may be some new Snoopy watch faces as well. There can be quite a few different ones, and Apple seems to change these seasonally. So if we go back into it, some of them will be the same. Sometimes you'll run across maybe a few new ones here and there. Now, one of the new updates we saw with iOS 17.4 is new emoji, and there's no difference here, as when you're using messages, you'll see those new emoji available here as well. So if we go into messages, and you'll see we have some new emoji here, where we have some accessibility emoji with a wheelchair facing right, someone running facing right, and then also we have a mushroom, a lime, a phoenix, a head nodding up and down, a head turning left to right, broken chains, some family icons, a motorized wheelchair facing right, as well as someone running facing right, someone with a walking stick facing right, kneeling, and more. And then, of course, you can adjust the skin tone for any one of these. Also, there's new PQ3 encryption that Apple introduced with this update. That will carry across to the watch as well with watchOS 10.4. And if we go to Apple's website about it, they've added PQ3 encryption, and Apple says it's the new state-of-the-art quantum secure messaging at scale. I'll link this in the description, as it's quite a lengthy description of how it actually works, and it's pages and pages. So if you want to see this, that's available now and should be active with watchOS 10.4 and iOS 17.4. Now, if we go back to the watch, we have some updates with timers. So if we go into, maybe we'll go to the timer app here. Within the timer app, there's an update where they've changed some of this, where it says 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And while we had some of that before, it looked a little different. So they've updated the overall interface. This was just a screenshot taken before, so you could see the difference. So it's a slight user interface update here. Also, one thing I noticed today is when I was actually traveling using Apple Maps, they've updated this as well. Once you have your route set of where you're going, it will actually show you the estimated time of arrival just below the time. Apple has added some updates for notifications and double tap. If we go into our settings, and you have to have an Apple Watch Ultra 2 or Apple Watch Series 9 for double tap, but if we go down to where we have gestures here, under gestures, we have double tap. If you have that enabled and you go into it, and then you scroll down a little ways, you'll see as we continue to go to the bottom, we have a new option to ignore double tap. This is if you're using an Apple Vision Pro, so you can actually gesture using the Apple Vision Pro by pinching your fingers to select something, and it won't trigger double tap on the Apple Watch. However, you can turn this off as well if you want, or just turn it on if you have an Apple Vision Pro and you're using that. There's a new feature in notifications on your watch. If we go into our settings, go into notifications, scroll down, you'll see a new option to tap to show full notification. If we enable this, it says Apple Watch can hide the full details of a notification behind a summary until you tap the screen or double tap your fingers. So that's a new feature. And if you have a Series 9 or Ultra 2, you can use double tap. Let me text myself and I'll show you how it works. So on my watch, if I go ahead and send myself a message, give it a second to come in. When it comes in, you'll see it says maybe Aaron Zolo, double tap, and it goes right into the full message of what I've said. So that works on any notification now with watchOS 10.4. If we go into the Watch app, there's a new option under Accessibility with Assistive Touch. If we go into Assistive Touch and we have that enabled, we now have the option to confirm with Assistive Touch. So it says use Assistive Touch to confirm payments with the passcode or anytime double-clicking the side button is required. So if we want to enable that, we can turn that on and then use the side button to confirm all of that. So continue on Apple Watch. We can confirm it here if we want to use that, and set up to use Assistive Touch for double click. So if we want to use that, we can. Also, there's some updates with Siri. And if we go into settings, these are similar to what we have on iOS 17.4. But if we go into Siri and search,
We lost the sound.
the language we want it to read
Now it's
back.
back.
And more than just one. So maybe you have English as your main language, German, Korean, and French is secondary. If someone texts you in English, it will read in English. If someone messages you in French, it will read in French. Or any of the languages we have here, from Arabic, Chinese, Hebrew, Italian, down to Spanish, Swedish, Thai, and Turkish. So if you want to set any of those or all of those, you can do that and it will read back in those languages. Also, another thing they've updated Siri with is it can now use the word hey in front of it or disable that, and that works in German as well. It works on iOS as well as watchOS too. Shazam also gets a little bit of an update if we ask Siri to identify a song. What song is playing? You'll see the overall interface is a little bit different. Let me play a song. It recognizes the song and then shows us what the album is. So nothing new there, but while it's identifying, it actually looks a little bit different. Apple has also fixed a couple bugs in this update, specifically one that would cause false touches on the display. So it should be more accurate as far as what it's picking up and registering as touches. Also, they've fixed an issue that prevented contacts from syncing properly from the Apple Watch to your iPhone for some users. So contacts should now sync properly if you're using the Contact app or something else. Additionally, there will be security updates. Now, by the time you're watching this video, they may not be out yet. It could take a couple hours. But if we go to Apple's security website, and if we scroll down on the website, you'll see that we have iOS 17.4 and iPadOS 17.4, as well as other releases. However, watchOS 10.4 will be here as well. And when we go into these, you can see all of the different updates, from everything from accessibility to kernel and more, with a description and impact of what was the problem and what they actually did to resolve it. So be sure to check those out if you're interested. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out for yourself once it's released for everyone to see. As far as overall performance, everything's load as you would expect. Going into different apps seem to open quickly, just like they did before. You'll see weather is animating there as well. And going into apps we haven't loaded before seems to be plenty fast also. So if we go into maybe noise here, and you'll see it immediately starts to measure decibels. So it seems to be pretty good that way, and stability is quite good as well. I haven't had any issues while I was running any of the betas, and with this version, the public release, I haven't seen any issues as well. As far as battery life, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the battery health. I haven't checked that in a while. Battery health, last I checked on my Apple Watch Ultra 1 was still 100%, and looks like the same is true on Apple Watch Ultra 2. So far, it's been doing pretty good throughout the day. You'll see I'm down to 68%. This has been off the charger for many hours at this point. And while I haven't used it today to work out or use it for the activity monitoring or anything like that, it seems to be lasting a couple days for me, at least on any of the betas it did. And many people that had issues with the battery with previous versions say that this version resolves it, those that have been running the beta. So far, it's actually as you would expect and fixing issues you may have had before with the battery. As far as watchOS 10.5 beta 1, well, we can expect that within a day or so. Typically, we'll get that along with iOS 17.5 beta 1, possibly after, given the sort of staggered nature this time around where they release these. But overall, I would expect that pretty soon, where we'll probably see that within a day or two, or possibly next week. It just depends what Apple decides to do with that. As far as anything else, well, that's pretty much it for this update. A few nice updates, things to match iOS 17.4, and we can expect major features with watchOS 11 when that's shown at WWDC in June. Other than that, I would not expect any major feature updates until then, and we're not sure what's coming with watchOS 11 as well. As far as the watch face I'm using, well, many people have been asking me this in these videos, and if you're not familiar with it, this is the modular watch face, and if we go to edit and check out the complications, you'll see that I have in the middle an app that's called Lumi. So if we go into that, this is a paid app that I paid for myself. It says countdown to golden hour, or one of the best times to actually take photos and video, and you'll see you can actually see more things such as when night ends and much more. And if we go back, everything else in here is just pretty standard: music, compass, weather, messages, and calendar. So other than that, that's all it is, just the modular watch face. Now, if you found anything else in watchOS 10.4, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do if you'd like to get your hands on it. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Any comments?
I have a question about something you showed a while ago, and I was, busy with my cats. It was something about Sonoma 14.4. I've got 14.4. And so it was something with security.
Yeah, it was a news article about Oracle advising users not to install Sonoma 14.4 if they were using Java.
Oh,
However, Ken Marks, who I think is with us now, found an article about a bug related to iCloud Drive. Ken, are you here?
I think he's on the list.
I thought I saw him check in. Well, at any rate,
Yeah.
if you, I think, optimize your memory in iCloud Drive with Sonoma 14.4, you can lose your saved versions of iCloud Drive. So there are a couple things that might be bugs right now to be cautious of if you do either of those things.
There's also some reports of it having problems with USB hubs, I think, and printers. So you can just Google that, macOS 14.4 bugs.
Yeah, I'm
And
hiding.
there's lots of news reports, nothing official about that, but
Is it certain printers only, or?
I have to Google it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have no problem.
No, I lost connection with my brother printer yesterday.
Really?
I reinstalled and relinked it, and it came back. So it's working now. Ken,
I ran into that article this morning, so I posted it.
There he is.
That last presenter needs to talk a little more quickly.
No, I can't follow that quick.
Why
right.
doesn't he show himself?
Being facetious.
I'm used to a watch that you look at and you tell the time, and to have so much complexity built into this thing on my wrist, it's a little overwhelming.
You mean that the Apple Watch tells time too?
Right. Are there any other comments? Okay, let's see if we can get to the next video. I lost
Sure
my,
you can.
here we are.
Ready to move from Android to iPhone? Here's how to transfer your photos, contacts, messages, and more. Before you start, make sure your Android device has Wi-Fi turned on and that both your devices are plugged in and charging. You should also make sure that you have enough storage on your iPhone to transfer the content, including what's on your external micro SD card. It's best to complete the transfer process before you set up your iPhone. If you've already set it up, you'll need to erase it and start over. If you choose not to erase it, you can move your content over manually. Ready? First, follow the on-screen instructions on your iPhone to start setting it up. And when you reach the Transfer Your Apps and Data screen, tap From Android. You'll need to install the Move to iOS app on your Android device, which you can download from the Google Play Store. You can tap the QR code in the upper right corner of the Move from Android screen, and then scan the code with your Android device to find it. On your iPhone, tap Continue. A 6-digit or 10-digit code will appear. On your Android device, open Move to iOS. You'll be asked to review and accept the terms and conditions of Apple's privacy policy in order to continue. If you agree, tap Agree to confirm, and tap Continue. You'll also be asked to review and accept the software terms and conditions in order to continue. If you agree, tap Agree to confirm, and then follow the prompts. When asked to enter the one-time code on your Android device, enter the 6 or 10-digit code
but
that
they're
you
not
received
doing
on your
it.
iPhone earlier.
The chocolate chip.
Oh, how nice of her.
Yeah,
They look good.
I'm gonna have one now.
Next, you'll select the content that you want to transfer. You might be asked for permission to access your apps and data. If you agree to allow access to the specified content, tap Allow. You can move your Google account, messages, contacts, and other things like accessibility and
I'm sorry. Well, I cut that one a little bit short. Are there any people online who have moved onto iPhones from the Android?
Thinking about it.
You have an Android phone?
Thinking about it.
So you have an Android phone?
No, I don't.
Oh, he asked, this is to move from an Android into an iPhone. That's what this video is about, not the other way around.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and proceed then. This next video is also from somebody we haven't heard from before. She refers to herself as Techie Tutor, and provides some information about fixing font size on your iOS devices.
Hello, Techie Tutor here with iOS tips and tricks, especially for seniors. Today, I'm going to talk to you about text size in iOS and the various ways that you can control it. Be sure to stay tuned. At the end, I will let you know how you can get your own digital copy of the directions that I'm going over. I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can control text size on your iPhone and your iPad. I'm using my iPhone right now. The first thing you have to do is go to Settings. So once you're in Settings, you'll go down to Display and Brightness and open that up. This is where you're going to find the setting for text size. And I'm going to click it. And you'll see that as I move the cursor, this type up here is going to change size. So let's see what that looks like. And when it's at a size that is comfortable for you, that's where you can leave it. So I'll just put it right here in the middle for now. Then you're going to go back. Another thing you can do is make sure that bold text is on. If you don't like bold text, turn it off, but I find that bold text on is more helpful. You also have a choice here between light and dark. I'm keeping it light. Let's go back now. So that's step 1. That's just changing the text size in Settings. There's another step so that you have a quick and easy way to change your text size. Go back to Settings and go down to Control Center. When you get to Control Center, I want you to pay attention to what's included. I'm covering it with my mouse right now. So the included controls right now are camera and flashlight. What I want to do is go down and find the control for text size. Now these are alphabetical, so just scroll down till you find text size right here. Once I press this, it's going to shift from where it is now to the top under included controls. So let's make that happen. Press it, and then let's go up and take a look. And here we have our included controls now has text size. Wonderful. Here I am on a website, and maybe I'm finding that the text is a little too small. What I can do is drag down from the right, and that will access my control center. By dragging down from the top of your iPhone or your iPad, you reveal the control center, and you'll see those are the included controls that we have. We have the camera, the flashlight, and here we have text size. I'm going to click on that, and then you have a meter here where the smallest is at the bottom, 80%. And if you fill it all the way up, it's at 310%. So I'm going to change it for the moment up here to 190, and then I just have to tap to go back out, and there's the website. In this video, I've explained how to control text size in iOS. 2 ways: going through settings, setting it up first, then adding it to Control Center, and then accessing the quick feature from the Control Center on the fly, whether you're on a website or reading a document or in your email. I find this setting very helpful through my day. If you would like a digital download of a PDF with the directions, you can head on over to Buy Me a Coffee /TechieTutor. And then when you're there, click on Extras and scroll down, and you will see Working with Text Size iOS as an option. And go ahead, click it, and then you can download it. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, it would be great if you would click on thumbs up and like my video, and also subscribe to my channel.
Okay, yeah. Enough of that. Any comments?
She was good. I like the pace.
Yeah, Ken might appreciate her pace better than Aaron Zolo's.
Right.
Yeah, very clear, easy to see what she was doing. And I actually haven't used my iPhone in that way, so that was useful to me. The next video is the only one we have from Gary Rosenzweig, Mac Most today. It's on using a green screen with your Mac. And for those of you who aren't into video production or that sort of thing, green screen is a technology that allows you to push a background of your choice in back of what you're actually trying to shoot. It's been done for many, many years, but it now is quite easy to do with the Apple platform. So let's take a look at it. I find it kind of exciting.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how to use a green screen with your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, I'm often surprised when I hear that people can't or won't use a green screen on a Mac because maybe they can't get one or can't afford one or they don't know how to use it. Green screens are actually really cheap, and you could do it in a variety of different ways. And they're really easy to use. You can use them in a few situations. For instance, I'm going to show you how to use them in iMovie, but you could also use them for regular online meetings, like in Zoom or even in FaceTime. Even in situations where there is no green screen functionality, a green screen can really help improve the quality of your video in a meeting. So first, let's talk about what a green screen is. All a green screen is a field of green behind you while you're on camera. It doesn't have to be some sort of special screen. It can be something very simple. For instance, if you want a really cheap one, you can just get a piece of green poster board. I can search here on Amazon and find a variety of green poster boards, but you could probably find one at a nearby store. A lot of times these are used for school projects. Available in a lot of colors, just get a green one. Anything that is a solid green color will do. So for instance, if you really want to do it cheaply, search for green paper roll. And you're going to find these rolls of green paper used for a variety of reasons, even for wrapping paper, that are super cheap. And you can just tack it to a wall behind you. Don't worry if there's a little bit of a seam. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. Just get it as good as you can. And paper works really well because you're not going to get little reflections that you may get, say, on a glossy poster board. Of course, the classic thing to use is a green bed sheet for a cheap green screen. It's hard to find a bright green bed sheet, but if you can, or if you already have one, you can just hang that up behind you. But of course, you can also search for green screen, and you're going to come up with a variety of different things. And they're probably not as expensive as you think. A lot of these are under 40 bucks, sometimes even under 20 bucks, and they even include all the things you need to kind of hang it behind you. Cheaper ones are probably not going to be very durable, but as long as you take care of them, they'll be just fine. There's some really good ones that are not that expensive, but are still easy to set up and then put away. Search for green screen pop-up. You're going to come up with some of the things that look kind of like this. They allow you to actually set it up really quickly, and then they kind of fold in an interesting way and go into a small container that's flat, and then you could just hide it behind something when you're not using it. All you really need is a solid field of green behind you. I even know people that just simply paint a wall green if they're going to be using it all the time. Now, I'm going to talk about lighting a little later on, but you don't need to really do anything special with lighting if you're just using it for meetings or to create fun videos. Let's talk about using a green screen. I'm going to talk about using it in videos you create and also using it for online meetings. Let's start by talking about videos. And in particular, I'm going to talk about using iMovie because iMovie's had this functionality built in for a long time. So I've shot some green screen video using the green screen that's always behind me. And I did it in QuickTime Player. I just, in QuickTime Player, did a new movie recording and used my Mac's camera to shoot this. So it's just me with a green screen behind me. Notice my chair is also green. I'll talk about that a little later too. So I've got this video here, and you can see I didn't use any special lighting. I actually had all my lighting turned off for this, so you can see what a more typical situation would be like. So everything's not completely easy. It's a little darker here in some of the corners. The chair's a slightly different shade of green and all of that. But I've got just a standard video. Now, I'm going to go into iMovie here. I've got a new project. And a mistake a lot of people make that makes it seem like it's hard to use a green screen is that they take this green screen video and they drop it in to iMovie and then find they can't see any way to set this up as green screen video where it cuts out the background. You have to remember in iMovie, there are two layers. There's the main video layer, and then there's the overlay layer. If you're using green screen, then you want to do that in the overlay layer. After all, something has to show through where the green is. If you're using it in the main layer, there's nothing underneath that. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to bring in another video clip here. And this is just a video clip of a beach. So this is the background video. Now I can put green screen video on top of that. So I'm going to drag in that same video, but I'm not going to put it in the main timeline here. I'm putting it above that other video. So it's the overlay, that second layer. So now you can see I've got the beach there, and then the overlay cuts away from that. And now I've got the video of me, and then it goes back to the beach. I want this to act as a green screen video where wherever it's green, it's transparent and I can see the beach. So with that selected, I want to go to the tool here that's for the video overlay settings. And then I've got several different options. I can cut away, which is what it's doing now. It's cutting away to the overlay and then back. I can also choose split screen or picture in picture. But you can see here the second option is green or blue screen. You can do this all with a solid blue screen if you really want. So let's choose the green blue screen here. And now when I move over this section, you can see that where it was green is now transparent and you could see what's behind me. So it's as simple as that. All you need to do is film yourself or an object or anything over a solid field of green and then use it as an overlay in iMovie and set it up to be a green-blue screen overlay. Now, you can do some adjustments. For instance, notice how since the chair is a different shade, it didn't really cut it out completely. It's only semi-transparent there. That's okay. You've got cleanup tools here. I'm going to use the eraser tool here, and I'm going to click where the chair is, telling it also cut out this shade of green completely. And as soon as I do that, you can see it works really well. You can also use this tool here to crop. So say if there was an object over here to the left that you don't want included, you can kind of crop it away like that. And you can adjust all four corners. So you can kind of just have the section that's you if you want, telling it to completely ignore everything outside of the section. So that's handy if, say, you just have a poster board behind you and your video includes lots of other things outside of the green poster board area. And that's all there is to it. Now you've got this green screen video here where you appear to be over this background video instead of what's really behind you. And of course, there are green screen functions in other video editing apps as well. Just about anyone will have one. Certainly Final Cut Pro and other apps like that are going to have some sort of green screen function you can use just like this. Sometimes it's called green screen. Sometimes it's called chroma key. And you can also use a green screen to make the video of you during meetings better. For instance, in Zoom, you can use the settings here to have the background behind you cut out. Now, this will work even if you don't have a green screen. You could have a potted plant and a bookcase and a picture and all of that, and it will use an algorithm to figure out who you are versus the background and cut everything else out. All you need for that is to go to the background and effects section here and select a background. So I can select like this standard background here. Now what it's doing is it's trying to figure out what's me, what's the background, and cut that out. It's not perfect, but it will work, and you don't need to set up a green screen. But if you want to improve the video, you can put a green screen behind you. And the first thing is it's going to just generally improve. Having just a solid color behind you that doesn't match any color that you've got on you is going to help its algorithm separate you from the background. But Zoom also has this, I have a green screen checkbox here. This is under background and effects and settings. And if you check that, it's going to change its algorithm. And instead of trying to cut you out from the background, it's simply going to look for the green and cut that out. And now you'll notice that the quality is a lot better in terms of how well it cuts things out. So this is kind of a way to bring your Zoom meeting quality up to the next level. Now, this also works with FaceTime. So, of course, normally in FaceTime, it's just a picture of you and whatever's behind you. You can't substitute some sort of background. But if you're doing a presentation, so you're going to share your screen like I'm doing right here, then it is going to actually try to cut you out if you use the smaller, like bottom left corner presentation style. And when you can do that, you can see it puts you in a little circle. And not only is the circle a different color than what's behind you, but your head kind of pops out from that circle. So it's separating you from the background, just like Zoom is doing. Now, there's no checkbox to say, I'm using a green screen. But by having a green screen behind you, it's going to make it a lot easier for it to cut you out of the background. So even in applications like this, where there is no specific green screen function, being in front of a green screen is going to produce a better quality result than being in front of a whole variety of different objects that may be in your office. Now, if you want to take your green screen game up to the next level, you want to think about lighting. So if you've got light in front of you, making you look good, and you've got a green screen behind you, one of the things that light is going to do is cast a shadow of you onto the green screen. So you're going to have two different shades of green, the regular green and the shadow green. You can fix that by having multiple lights in front of you, so casting shadows in various different directions, kind of even it out. You can also fix it by having a light above, below, or to the sides of the green screen that's behind you shining onto the green screen. So this will take away the shadows and make the green behind you very bright, so it's even easier to separate. This is why it's very important to get some sort of material that doesn't have much of a reflection to it. So some sort of soft fabric or one of these green screen materials that's built specifically not to have reflections. Don't worry too much about this if you just want to casually use a green screen in meetings or just make some fun iMovie videos. But if you're looking just to make it a little bit better, some lighting will go a long way. And it doesn't have to be super expensive lighting either. There's a lot of cheap options available on Amazon, or you can just use regular lamps. Really, any kind of lighting is better than no lighting. And finally, I know people are going to ask me about my green chair. My green chair is actually a regular black office chair, but it's a high back, so you can see it over my shoulders. So something like that may not be a problem in a meeting. I mean, people assume that you're sitting in a chair, but I certainly thought it was a good idea to try to get rid of the chair when making videos like this. So to do that, you can just throw a piece of green fabric over the chair. But I also found that pretty cheaply on Amazon, you could find these stretch chair cover. Just search for stretch office chair cover, and you'll find them in a variety of different colors. Look for the ones that cover a chair similar to yours and have lots of different colors. And then if you look at the colors, you usually find ones that are various shades of green and such. And then it will help you blend your chair into the green screen behind it. And that's it. A green screen is really nothing other than any piece of green material that you can put behind you, make it a little bit better with lighting, and you can use it in iMovie, other video editing apps, and in online meetings. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Yes, question. Sorry, I can't find my hand signal. Where is settings for Zoom? Is it on the menu bar?
For Zoom?
Yeah, it was
It's like
saying,
every app, you
bring up
go to the name
backgrounds.
of, every app is very similar. Go to the name of the app that's next to the Apple menu and pull it down, and there'll be settings or preferences.
Okay, I'll check. Thank you.
Okay. This next video that I have is only about 4 minutes long. It actually came from a television show several years ago. The show is still on weekly, but I'm just going to play it. It has to do with some Apple history. I think you'll like it.
Think about this. Virtually every material thing in our world began as an idea that grew into an innovation that started small and through passion and perseverance changed the way we live. That's what this show is all about. Here at the Henry Ford, these innovations are everywhere you turn. One thing you can actually see is a relic from the dawn of the modern computer age, birth of one of the world's biggest companies. It's hard to imagine a world without computers. But it wasn't until the 1930s that modern computers, like the ones we use now, were developed. Most early computers were huge, taking up entire buildings, weighing many thousands of pounds. They were used for science, not for homework or games. In the 1970s, two guys named Steve ruminated on the possibility of personal computers that regular people could use at home. So they went to work in their parents' garage. Steve Wozniak engineered the circuit boards, and Steve Jobs thought about how to market them.
I designed everything, thought it out, went in, started plugging chips in a board, soldering every wire on, testing, looking on oscilloscopes, debugging. Oh my gosh, I made a mistake in the design, fix it over here and move a couple wires, put a new chip in.
They had no idea their first design would turn into one of the biggest companies on Earth. And it all started with this, the Apple I. Handmade by Wozniak, it was one of the major sparks that ignited the digital revolution. Curator of technology, Kristen Galerno, eagerly showed me the Henry Ford's rare and fully operational Apple I.
This is the Apple I computer.
This is the Apple I computer. It's in pieces. Is that how it came?
Yeah, so when you bought an Apple I computer, what you essentially got was this right here. This is the motherboard. And then you could sort of link in things like, a cheap TV monitor and a keyboard right here.
There were other computers at the time, yeah?
Yeah, there were. But this is what is known as a personal computer. This was very intuitive. You could type on this keyboard and have what you typed turn up on that TV monitor. And that's one of the first times in computing history that was possible. Steve Wozniak was very particular about the way that he designed his circuit boards. So he laid things out to have the minimum amount of chips for the maximum amount of computing.
I had one little board with only about 30 chips on it, and I'm typing in programs and running them. How could a computer be so small? Nobody had ever imagined a full computer that could run programs could be that small.
And so how much power is here?
4K. If we want to compare that to what that means to us today, 4K is a very, very short email. In 1953, there was only something like 50K of memory in the world on planet Earth.
There's enough power here to send a short text, maybe.
Maybe, yes. But it also could run programs, very simple mathematical programs, loops.
And how many of these exist today?
There were about 200 that were made total, and about 64 of those, we know where those are, but only about 15 of those are actually known to be operational, and ours is one of those.
Even though this personal computer was made in 1976, it has 21st century capabilities. Could I sync my phone to this?
You can, actually.
I was kidding. But...
No, I'm not kidding. And when I first heard this news, it completely threw me off guard.
I'm guessing that downloading just one of the 3,500 songs I have on my phone would be too much.
I think it would be too much for it to handle. Yeah. This is the seed artifact of the digital age. It's the beginning of the home computer revolution.
you want to take that revolution to the next level, you better start thinking out of the box. Oh, and it helps if you work with somebody named Steve.
Any questions, comments?
Oh, it's over? Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Yes, very biased way to look at history. There were others before them, and they were called personal computers before Apple. Just my opinion, but it's accurate.
Not going to argue that.
Ah,
On the
Apple
other hand,
works hard at rewriting history constantly.
well, on the other hand, I wish I had spent $666 buying an Apple One.
Instead, I bought a saw in kit form and soldered it together myself. It was more complete than an Apple One.
Well, the Commodore was out about that time too, wasn't it? Or
no, a little later.
A little later? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The next item is a real shorty. It's by our friend Tom Wells on a way to set a series of cooking timers.
If you're cooking something and you want to keep track of multiple timers at the same time, you can do this using your Apple Watch. The way you'd usually set a timer on your watch is probably to ask Siri, right? Something like set a 20-minute timer and Siri will set your timer. Well, if you're cooking different foods, all with different times, just name each timer as you set it. So for example, set a 1-hour beef timer. And while that's running, you could say, set a 40-minute potato timer. And then you could say, set a 30-minute carrot timer. And then when you go to your watch and look at the timers app, all of your different timers are showing, complete with their names, making it super easy for you to keep track of everything you're cooking. Check out my channel, Proper Honest Tech, for more Apple-related tips and tricks.
Short and sweet.
That's the new fad. They just shoot them in vertical mode. Even they're all doing it, real shorties, because of TikTok.
Yeah. Makes use of only about 30% of the pixels that you could show things with, but it is what it is. Okay. Leo Notenboom is answering a question about accepting cookies. Let's have a look.
Should I accept cookies on my computer? Hi, everyone. Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. Here's a very common question that highlights something, a frustration, if you will, that we've all been dealing with for some time. Is it okay to accept legitimate interest cookies when I come across them when trying to access a website, often from a link from one of my known, regular, and thus legit sites? There are usually so many of them that it's impractical to detick them all. There could be 100 plus. There's usually no clear all option. That makes me think that it's made deliberately awkward so that folks don't detick, which makes me just a tad cautious and suspicious. Generally speaking, are they okay? Generally speaking, they're okay. What you're seeing is unfortunately the result of what I consider to be some really poor government legislation, the EU's GDPR. There are many good things about the GDPR, don't get me wrong, but this specific thing has, I think, caused more annoyance and a lot of unnecessary fear because of what it does. And that is simply when you visit a website that uses cookies, they have to ask you if it's okay to use cookies. And every website uses cookies. So the first time you visit any website, it's going to ask you. And as a result, as we surf the web, as we go from site to site, we get asked over and over and over again whether or not we want to accept cookies. The short answer is that the web won't work without them, right? There are things in cookies that are used to basically make your experience online possible. Yes, there are other things that cookies can be used for as well. And I think that really gives rise to this whole concept of being aware that cookies are being used. But the fact is, you can just assume that cookies are being used everywhere because they are. Okay, let's back up a little bit. What's a cookie? A cookie is nothing more than a piece of data that is left by a website when you visit that website. So, for example, when you visit askleo.com, there's a good chance that the website will place a cookie on your machine. One example might be a cookie with a name, _GA, typically for Google Analytics, and then content, which will have basically something that is probably indecipherable to you and me. That's okay. What happens next is that the next time you ask for another page from that same site, so you either go to the next page in askleo.com or you come back a day or two later, the browser, when it makes the request for the web page from askleo.com, it notices that it has a cookie for askleo.com. When it makes its request for whatever page it is you're looking for, it then says, hey, in addition to giving me this page, last time you were here, you left this cookie. Here is the cookie back. So that means that the cookie that was left the first time you visited is then provided back to the website the next time you visit it. And that's one way that the site knows that it's you. It's the same person, or rather, it's the same browser. Cookies are specific to computer and specific to browsers. So if you are running, say, Chrome, you'll have a different set of cookies than you do in Edge. But the concept is still very much the same. Why are we so concerned about cookies? Well, to begin with, like I said, cookies are important. They are the kind of thing that prevents you from needing to log in for every single page you might visit on a website. So, for example, if you log in to askleo.com with your Ask Leo account, then when you then visit another page and another page and another page, the system knows that you're already logged in. That information is kept in cookies. The concern, of course, is that this is also how advertising networks are able to basically track what you've been interested in. On a site that displays advertisements, there'll be a cookie left related to that specific advertising network. Then, when you go to another website, a completely different website, an unrelated website that happens to use that same advertising network, they get the cookie that says, hey, this was him. This was Leo. That actually, I got a cookie from him on this one site, and now we're going to this other site that happens to use the same advertising network. Here's the cookie. What the advertising networks do, of course, is they aggregate this information. They love to know not what you are doing. They don't care what Leo is doing, but what they care about are the hundreds and thousands of people that were interested in X, might be interested in seeing advertisements for X later. They might then perhaps purchase X. That's the point of what is typically called remarketing. So, like I said, they don't care about you. They care about people like you or people who have shown interest in things. But that's really about it. Like I said, almost every site on the internet uses cookies in one form or another for a variety of purposes. There are all sorts of different things, like I've described, and more that cookies may be used for. So, what's the answer to the ultimate question, right? Are these cookies generally okay? Absolutely. In fact, I generally just hit accept all as quickly as I can because I want to get on to using the website that I've just started to visit. There are even browser extensions that will click on accept all for you when it shows up, so that maybe it'll just flash in front of you, but you actually don't have to pay attention. The whole concept of asking you on every website, again, to me, is rather silly because we know that all sites use cookies and the average consumer does not know, when given a selection of which cookies are okay, which ones do you choose? I let them drop all the cookies they want to because ultimately it's just not that big a deal. It's more of an annoyance that I'm being asked than anything else. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/168042. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.
Well, that might be as much about cookies as we need to hear. Any comments?
Well, you know who he's getting paid for, I mean, by. He's advocating to accept everything that comes at you without even looking at it. Oh, you should go through it and actually accept needed cookies only, not advertising or anything else, as far as I'm concerned.
There's nothing in a cookie that's going to hurt you. All it is targeted advertising. So they know that you watch this and like that, and they know, okay, he likes that, let's send him an ad for that. Otherwise, you'll get ads for things you have no interest in. Don't you notice when you go to places repeatedly, you'll see ads? Like I'll go search for something in Google, a part number, and I'll go over here in this other place and I see an ad for that part. Well, that's because they set a cookie on the other site.
Do cookies take up a lot of space on a computer?
No, they're little tiny little text files.
Okay, all right.
They make up no space at all.
Well, I like clicking on, clicking on it and then just saying necessary cookies only, because I don't want them to send me ads and stuff.
You're gonna get the ad anyway. It doesn't stop any ads. It just sends it it says she may be interested in this because she was looking at it before. So give her an ad about that instead about something that's totally irrelevant. It's doesn't stop any ads.
Well, I use a program. I use a program called Cookie. Lets me decide which I want to keep every time I quit the browser. The ones I don't want go away, and
it's become a big annoyance that you have to put up this regulation to ask you about cookies. And now, like you said, before you didn't have to do that. It just worked. And somebody's so afraid that there's something in these cookies that's going to be bad that you need to be told that there's cookies. So now it's annoying. That's what's bad about it. It's now annoying. You go to the same, even you go back to the same website the same next day, and you already said it. They want to ask you again and again, or you go in a different browser. You've been there, even if you log in, it's like it's irritating.
It is irritating, but it's a trade-off.
The cookies, being asked about the cookies is irritating. There's nothing wrong with the damn cookies.
Well, as a matter of fact, there's a lot good about them. You know, you have a subscription to, say, the New York Times or the Washington Post. You just click it and it says, oh, that's Rick there. So here's the page.
Right. All your preferences about, you go back to that site. If you delete the cookie, it'll go back, you'll log in again, you'll lose all your whatever you liked, and all your stuff is gone, and they don't have to learn about you all over again.
I choose,
or when you clear your cache too.
Exactly.
I keep certain cookies on sites I visit regularly, and sites that I visit on occasion I don't keep.
Well, that's why there's red jelly beans and green jelly beans.
I like blue ones.
Way too much work to just. I wish, like you said, that would just go away and be like it was. Like
actually, eggshell green is a good color.
Well, on that note, I have one more video for you to see. It's less than a minute long. It's by Apple Support, related to earbuds and conversation awareness.
When you want to speak to someone nearby, use conversation awareness with your second generation AirPods Pro to lower the volume of audio you're listening to and enhance the voice of the person talking to you. Here's how. With your AirPods Pro connected, open Control Center. Then touch and hold the volume control and tap the conversation awareness button. Now your iPhone will lower your music or pause your podcast when you start speaking to someone nearby. When your conversation ends, conversation awareness automatically turns up the volume and returns to your original noise control setting. And that's how to focus on your conversations while wearing AirPods Pro. To learn more
That's a
on
nice
how to use your Apple
feature.
devices, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel or click another video to keep watching.
That's a very nice feature. I wish my hearing aids did that.
Isn't Apple supported non sequitur?
Non sequitur?
Apple
Is there any
failed.
Apple support anymore?
Oh. Okay. I think at this point we can, well, perhaps not social hour, but let's move on to questions and answers. Okay, people? I'm going to stop the share and return to mission control.
Okay, and so at this point, we'll wave goodbye to YouTube people. If you want to participate in Q&A, you can come to the DVMUG meeting Tuesday afternoons at 3 p.m.